Ladies and gentlemen, so the main event, the Rotageek Product Update. One of the things I really love about Rotageek is the really long-term relationships we build with people and teams, and I think that sort of panel set that scene very well, but also took me back to 10 years ago when I built the business case for William Hill, and there was genuinely a line in the business case that was the money that we saved William Hill for not having to post schedules. And so that maybe nicely frames what the future holds. So that was a sort of a throwback to 10 years ago and where we are now. And this session is on what the future holds for Rotageek and workforce management. And I'm running this session with Jason, who's our VP of Customer Ops. And our job in the next 40 to 45 minutes is to give you an insight into what is happening behind the scenes at Rotageek. And just a little spoiler, there is a lot. And as Phil kindly mentioned, we have been acquired by Elmo. And Elmo is a leader in HR software in Australia, New Zealand, and in the UK. And you will have met some of the Elmo team here today. They're an ambitious and smart team, and as Phil said, backed by an ambitious and smart investment firm. And what that means for us at Rotageek and for you as our clients is we unlock huge amounts of value for you, but also get access to huge amounts of firepower. And so the acquisition really allows us to deliver much more value for you, and in three ways. One is we get access to a full HR suite, and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. The Elmo team are smart, and I have to say that because my boss is at that table, but we also get to steal some of their technology and rebrand it, which we're going to talk you through a little bit later, but that's a really nice win from the acquisition. But it's not just an acquisition of Rotageek, it's backed by additional resourcing. And to put this into some context, we are essentially doubling the size of our development team. And so that really feeds into some of the stuff we're going to show you today, which is how our ambition and our velocity of execution is increasing massively. And there really is huge amounts going on. It's massively exciting. And what I'm going to show you today is where the product roadmap is. There are two and maybe three additional streams of work that may land in the next quarter, backed by additional resourcing and investment. And so we will keep you updated on this, but it's a really sort of exciting time to be updating you. And with Jason, my role and Jason's role is to make sure that the roadmap is really tightly aligned to your needs as our customers and your immediate needs and future needs, but also the landscape in which we operate and the market trends, and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. We are developing a really exciting vision of where we think workforce management will be in the next 3 to 5 years. And it's a massively exciting time to be looking at this, principally because the tech landscape is moving so fast. There are genuinely things that we can do this week that we couldn't do last week. And one of the things that I think Rotageek excels at, and I love, is our job to stay really close to you as our clients and potential clients, and to mold the art of the possible, which with what your operational challenges are now and what those future challenges might be. And so we have a vision of what we think workforce management will be like in the next 3 to 5 years. We're going to give you some insight into that today. But the drivers of that are macroeconomic factors, that hugely dynamic tech landscape, where we think the workforce management market is now, where it's going and where we think it's going wrong. But what's really important is your input into this. And so being really close to you as our clients and your strategic objectives and future challenges and objectives is really key. And so Jason and I will be arranging sessions. I'm reaching out in the next couple of weeks to arrange those, really to share with you in detail what we think our vision is and to understand what your immediate strategic priorities are, but also what challenges you see on the horizon that may or may not land. And what that allows us to do is to be in a position that we can react quickly. Our external environment is changing quickly. The macroeconomic environment is changing quickly, but your world also changes. And part of the reason we're able to develop these long-term relationships with clients is we're able to react and change and really partner with you as an organization to deal with those challenges as they arise. Now, this is our sort of current roadmap that I'll talk you through. This is our roadmap as of today. There are three elements. There's our pre-existing Rotageek roadmap, and this you will know because it will have been shared with you. There is nothing that was on our roadmap that isn't. So all of the sort of expansion of our roadmap is new work that we're addressing. So we have three elements to our roadmap. One is the current Rotageek roadmap. The second is work that we have taken on as a result of the acquisition. And we're going to dig into some of these in more detail. One of those clearly is the integration with Elmo HR and how we bring Elmo functionality to our Rotageek clients, but some really other interesting pieces of work that we'll dig into around how we are positioning our platform for scale. And then the third element is, given that huge amount of increasing capacity and firepower and the way that the world is changing, we're investing heavily in new functionality and new tech to deliver value for you, and we'll talk about those in detail. Now, one of the asks of clients previously has been to make our roadmap much more visible, and it's so much more important now because it's so dynamic. And within the next 2 months, you will have access to a tech platform that allows you to see our roadmap, how we're tracking to plan releases, but also to input into that roadmap on that tech platform. So to give us suggestions, feedback, and all of that will come to the product team, and we will assimilate that and organize that. So as well as your normal routes of feeding back through your customer success managers, implementation, sales team, and product, you will have a new way of tracking our progress. So digging into the first topic is the integration of Elmo and Rotageek. So we're now no longer just a workforce management specialist platform. Let's see if we can turn that off. There we go. We have access to an HR suite with scale and credibility across international markets. And this matters to you because you can now access a much wider toolkit through the Rotageek platform. The technical integration work started within about a week of the acquisition and is due to be delivered in the next 2 weeks. So that's the moment at which our scheduling capability will seamlessly sit next to the Elmo ecosystem. And as Phil said at the beginning, Elmo's modular by design, and that's important because you don't need to acquire a whole new suite, a whole new HR suite. You can take the features that are really important to you in a modular way to solve those problems, and you can access those through the Rotageek platform. So the Elmo platform has modules across people and insights, hiring and onboarding, performance and recognition, learning and development. And to bring this to life somewhere, we have Jeremy. Jeremy, do you want to stand up? So Jeremy is the general manager of Elmo and leads the sales team. So he's our and your go-to person for all things Elmo. So if you think any of these might be on your radar in the next short while or sometime in the future, you can speak to Jeremy today, or me, or Jason, or any of the sales team. So Nick and Lucy, if you want to give a wave, just there we go. So you know who to grab at the end of the session. And that really does put us in a great position to accelerate our position in the UK market. Thank you. Now, off the back of the acquisition, this investment is not just going into product features that you see, but the underlying infrastructure that means we're able to scale and build a platform that can confidently cope with the expectation and anticipation we have for the next 3 to 5 years. And one of the main things that we're doing is moving from a single code base to a microservice architecture. And I'm sharing this to give you an idea of the level of investment and the depth of that approach to really put us in a great position to capitalize on all the latest tech, and we'll talk about AI shortly. Put simply, this means that we're taking our big piece of software and breaking it up into smaller bits of software that operate independently but talk to each other. So instead of having one big Rotageek engine, we've got a number of smaller high-performance engines that are all operating in sync. And what that means for you and for us is that we have a scalable, high-performing platform but it allows us to scale parts of that platform independently. So when we have loads on particular areas of the platform, we can scale those and deliver high performance and adapt really quickly to changes in demand. From your perspective, there won't be a visible difference on screen and you will log in as you normally do with Rotageek, but behind the scenes, I just want you to have confidence that we're investing deeply in that tech to make sure that our back-end infrastructure all the way through to the front-end changes are scalable. And so this just means that we're taking the approach of keeping Rotageek relevant but future-proof. If you want to go deeper into microservices, so Josh is probably your person, or I'm here to talk to as well. But the takeaway here is that this foundation will allow us to innovate faster and to keep delivering value for you as our clients. Some of the work that we are taking on is to double down on the areas that we know that we deliver really well. So there's some key things that really make us leaders in scheduling and schedule optimization. And I'm going to hand over to Jason, who's going to give you an update on 2 of these.
So, you guys, hello. So anybody who's had the pleasure of doing a demo or a discussion with me has probably seen some iteration of this visual. And this is kind of all of our optimization features. So starting on the left, we have our forecasting engine where we're predicting how many transactions you're going to have or how many units you're going to have down to a super granular level. And then we move on and we get to our labor modeling. So we've always had top-down labor modeling where we take your labor budget, distribute it in the most optimized way. And we've done a lot of investment in our bottom-up labor modeling, which I'm going to talk about today as well. And then what that actually matters is when you're building that schedule, that you have a schedule that closely aligns with your labor demand. And this is where we've been spending a lot of time investing into the future of making your forecasting better, really focusing on a much better UI for that bottom-up labor modeling, and then ultimately building you guys better schedules that are faster and more optimized. So I'm going to start by talking about the improvements that we're currently making in forecasting. So we've had forecasting product. I've been here for 7 years. We've had forecasting since I joined. And so anything that worked really well, we're maintaining, right? So various inputs. So we could take any time structured data, whether it's footfall, transactions, covers, units, whatever it is, and feed that into the forecasting algorithm. Now, what we're doing different now is we've changed our machine learning algorithms and we've upgraded them. So we have some out-of-the-box ones that, but we can also build custom ones based on the unique individualities of every business that we work with. Now, we've always taken things like bank holidays into account when doing that forecasting, and also special periods. So that's not changing because those are really important to the forecasting, and also the seasonality and trends. But what's now different is we're able to output that data for different use cases in different levels of granularity. So we have some customers who want quarter hour. We have some people that just want daily. We have some customers that want like just weekly roll-ups so they could do like long-term planning. So being able to export that data in different granularities has become really important for lots of customers and for different use cases. And what's coming next? So, we work with the likes of Cafe Nero and a lot of great brands, and they might have a drive-through, or they might really be affected by the weather. And so we're going to be adding weather into our forecasting algorithm. A lot of our customers will have localized events like a concert or a sporting game or something that has a big impact on super localized trends. So we're going to be adding that into the forecasting algorithm as well. And then the relational data between metrics, right? Because you might have sales in units and they have a relationship with each other. We want to just not look at each of these metrics individually, but use these in conjunction with each other to get better forecasts for you guys. And on the right-hand side here, we have some results that we've done with some of our new labor models around the accuracy. So when you're looking at daily accuracy, we've seen that we have 96% accuracy. And then as we get more granular, obviously that shuffles a little bit. It's a whole lot harder to forecast at a super granular level. But we still keep really, really high levels of accuracy. And we're hoping to see improvements through that as we add these additional functionalities into the forecasting. So next, what do you do with the forecast is obviously really important. So we have our forecasts that are generated by the forecasting algorithm, but turning that into labor demand is the next step. So like I said, we've always had top-down labor modeling and that works incredibly well. Now, what we've done is we spent a lot of time working on an amazing new UI for our bottom-up labor modeling, and I'll show you that in a second. And the point of that is you can really engage with the labor models a lot more granularly. You can do what-if analysis. You can use your time and motion studies and your labor standards to build up what that labor demand is, and it's a much better tool to visualize that. So I think, yeah, so there we go. So this is actually a live demo that I made a couple days ago. And so some of the things that you're seeing on screen is on the left-hand side here, you can visualize your updated labor demand down to the 15-minute interval by day. And that's for each individual job. So in this example, I have server, I have kitchen, I have different jobs that build up to that labor. In addition, you can have different formulas for each of those different jobs. So I'm going to make one here for server, and you can choose which locations they apply to. So in this one example here, I'm saying all my UK, high street restaurants have this specific labor model applied. Now, the other thing that's really interesting on here is the formula builder is probably our most intuitive that we've ever built. So you can access different forecasts that we've created by doing an @ sign, and then you get a full list of all of our forecasted metrics directly on screen. And you can build these just like you would any formula in Excel. So I know, Indra, you're an expert at macros in Excel, so this will be second nature to you. And you can create dynamic variables as well. So by just typing in head count per table, you've created a dynamic variable there, and that's what you can update automatically. Now, in addition, you have lots of businesses that might have different labor standards on the weekend or at lunchtime and dinner or different periods throughout the day. So you can actually have different labor standards that apply to different periods throughout the day of the week. It could be incredibly granular. And then you can also round up and round down, right? So pretty basic stuff there. And then you can save these. Now, the other great thing is you can do what-if analysis on these as well. So if you want to see, maybe if I installed self-serve kiosks or I changed some kit in the kitchen that's going to make you guys more effective, you can see what effect that's going to have directly on your labor demand directly within the platform before making that effective. And then on top of that as well, you can choose effective dates. So maybe you're rolling out the new tills, in a week from now, you can have that new labor standard effective from that day forward. So it's a much more intuitive way of engaging with your labor models rather than something that's kind of happening behind the scenes. And we've done a lot of work with our good friends at Mid-Counties Co-op on doing development in this area to help them transition onto Rotageek. So this is a really exciting development. We're really excited for more customers to use it and visualizing our labor demand. And ultimately, this is what's really important to use the optimization engine. So when you click that button, you have a really effective schedule that aligns with your customer demand. And I'm going to pass it back over to Chris. He's going to go over some enhancements that we're doing with our optimization engine.
Amazing. Thanks, Jason. So the forecasting and labor modeling are essentially the inputs to schedule optimization. And we know that that's where Rotageek delivers the most value for clients. For those of you that use schedule optimization, this will be very familiar. For those of you that don't, this is how it runs. So we essentially take the output of the forecast and the labor model, or we can ingest those, and we take your team and your team constraints down to team work preference and search that solution space to create an optimized schedule. And we've never met a team of schedulers or a competitor product that we can't beat, is that play? That we can't beat in creating an optimized schedule. And so this is where we excel, but we're not standing still, and we're continuing to invest heavily in this area. We know that when we compare sites where we optimize schedules to sites where we don't, in a second, sites where we optimize schedules and sites where we don't, we deliver value. So we optimize operational efficiency, and in retail, we can demonstrate that when we have optimized sites and control non-intervention sites, we see increased footfall conversion, increased basket size, higher customer NPS, higher staff NPS. So the business case is proven to drive the top line and the bottom line, but also improve your customer and staff satisfaction. And we currently search that solution space in a particular way. So we use a genetic algorithm. And the analogy here is that we have a huge space to search to create that and to find that optimum schedule. And the analogy is searching a mountain range, and we want to find the highest peak. So essentially, we set off climbers. Here we go, you can do this. So we set off climbers to climb up and find the highest peak. And when the climbers get to that highest peak, they look over and see that there's a higher peak over there. And the challenge of getting to that next highest peak is they've got to go down that valley. So there's a cost of doing that. And the genetic algorithm allows us to combine solution sets to make crossing that valley much less painful and much less costly. And it works. It works super well. Too keen. It works super well, and that's sort of underpinned our market position. But actually, last year we were doing some research into how we might move into a new vertical, and I will talk to you briefly about this later because it might be relevant to some of you. And in that R&D, we identified a new way of searching that big solution space to, what it looks like it does is give us better results faster. And the analogy here is that rather than climbing a mountain range, it's called a local neighborhood search. So you find one solution and you look for the next nearest solution and the next one and the next one, and they search in these sort of local minima essentially. And it looks like this is a real leap forward for us. So we are continuing to invest and do research in this area. This is on our roadmap for for the end of the year. It's our Q2. And the reality is that it might be a combination of both genetic algorithms and local neighborhood search that continue to push us. And from your perspective, the technical details aren't particularly important other than you will see an improvement in search results and search time. But the reason I'm sharing that with you is to give you confidence in the background of the amount of work that's going on, not only to develop new functionality and solve more of your problems, but to continue to improve the things that we do well. So if you want to know more about schedule optimization, if you don't use it, or you want to know more about local neighborhood search, come and speak to me or Jace or Nick and Lucy in the sales team who are at the back, or Josh who's sat at the front. That R&D came about as we were looking at a new vertical, and we are doing a huge amount of work to look at distribution centers. And the reason for sharing this with you is it's very early stage, but we know that lots of our clients have distribution centers, and as retail looks much more at omni-channel and online and click and collect and in-store fulfillment, it feels like a really interesting area for us to move into. If you want a really early conversation about that, again, come and speak to some of the Rotageek team. It will be really useful to get your views from our perspective. Now, I have some big news for you that was related to the panel discussion. Thank you, Indra, for teeing this up very nicely. We're also accelerating our development in particular areas, and we are also stealing technology from them. We are about to launch Rotageek Insights, which allows you to effectively talk with your data. So we move away from reporting and creating reports and having static reports that you have to download and or manipulate. It's a really powerful data analytics platform that the Elmo team have been working on and developing, and we are able to piggyback off their hard work and bring that to the UK market and bring that to Rotageek clients. At its core, it allows you to talk to your data in natural language and to create reports and visualizations and create dashboards and reports and share those. And what that means is that we move away from a world where you have static reports, but you can pull out data, create reports and dashboards and share them in a really timely way. So the time to get that data is short, increasing your sort of data-driven effective decision-making. But it means that you can create these reports and dashboards and then stand them down after a week or so, something that just wasn't possible before. And here we go. So this is the Elmo system. And what you will see here is we're using the Elmo data here. So our demo user is going to ask for the enrollment completion rate for all courses. And what the system does is convert that into it uses the reasoning engine, so the large language model, to convert that into code. It pulls the appropriate data. There's a trust layer that makes sure that we're pulling the right data and visualizing it in the right way. And then you get a visualization of your data, and you can ask questions about that data or pin it to a dashboard, as we're going to do here. And those dashboards can be your dashboard, or they can be shared with your team members. Here, what we're going to do now is look at a data set for job applications, and it may well be actually we just want to explore that data. So here, the demonstrator is going to say, what can I ask about this data set? And again, the large language model goes through and pulls out all of the data that it has and gives example questions that we might want to ask. And here the user says, great, I want to know about all of those things. Go and visualize all of our data. So give me grasp for all of that. And again, the system is now going through all of that data, writing the code, checking that we're putting the right data, and it will visualize all of those data queries that you can then adapt. You can put filters on, you can put into reports, and you can put into dashboards. So it really does make your data, it surfaces all of your data, and you can access all of it in natural language, and you can make that available to your teams. What's more is that behind this, it's not just you interrogating data, but you can have agents running in the background that can surface insights about your data. So a really hugely powerful platform. It's scheduled for release at the end of this year, so in our Q2, so between October and December. And we are looking for some early clients who might want to use this. So here's the offer to anyone in the room. If you do, please come and speak to me or Jace. Really interested to make sure that we test this appropriately with clients before we release it into the wild, but it will be fast. And we think it's a real game changer for clients because we hold huge amounts of information about you and your businesses, but also with that, the integration with Elmo. One of the panel questions was about how we might predict churn or deliver great schedules. And that was one of the real founding principles of Rotageek is we want to make it easy for teams to create amazing schedules, for our clients to create amazing schedules. And so that link up of the data between HR and scheduling really makes this platform super powerful. So very excited to show you an early version of this due for release in our Q2, October to November. Come and have a chat if you want a demo when it goes live, but also if you want early access, we're looking for 2 to 3 clients for early access. Good. So the next bit to talk you through is the future of workforce management. We have a view on where workforce management is going, and we'd love to share some of that with you, and we'll reach out to do more in-depth sessions. And again, if we know that clients are going through a lot of this change and looking at how they use AI and automate, if now is the right time to have those conversations, please come and speak to Jason and I today, and we'll get those booked in. But we think in the next 3 to 5 years, and the way that the tech landscape is moving, it may well be even shorter than that. That we'll move from a platform that you actively have to go to and create schedules to a system that is much more automated and almost becomes an operating system for your workforce, where we're orchestrating and optimizing. We think the way in which you interact with our system will change, and you see this in your devices today. So we can interact with voice, for example, in lots of our systems, but also looking at threading AI agents through the system and looking to optimize and automate and orchestrate as much as we can. There's a tendency in the market to rush to have thousands of agents doing particular things, but the approach that we're taking is to be obsessed by the problem. We want to make sure that we're solving real client pains, and we think about agents, and we think AI agents can deliver meaningful value in 3 main ways. So one is decision support, so surfacing insights for your team to act. The second is decision automation, so the things that your teams currently do in the system and levels of admin, that actually we can take those routine steps and optimize them and automate them. And the third is orchestration. So this is having a number of AI agents that are coordinated by an orchestration agent to solve much more complex workflows. And so we think of this in sort of 3 steps. The first is having AI assistants. So an AI agent that will help you navigate the system, and it could help you configure, and this came up in the panel discussion as well. Bob only works a Tuesday, but I normally get every Thursday off. Currently, that has to be configured in the system, and we spoke about how Michael helps you do that. You can automate Michael as an AI agent, and actually really make the configuration very granular, but in natural language. So they're sort of AI assistants helping you and your teams to navigate workforce management and scheduling in a much more effective way. The second is human in the loop agents. So agents that analyze data, process and optimize, but then surface your team an actual insight. Here's what we've noticed. Do you want to make this change or this change? We think you're understaffed on a Tuesday. Do you want to open up a gap shift, or don't you want to? Here's what we think the benefits and the risks are. And ultimately having autonomous agents that run in the background that continually optimize your schedule against a very dynamic changing environment. And again, I was at the back listening to the workforce, a panel discussion, and that shift from we used to schedule on paper on Excel and macros, the technology there now is to optimize almost in real time. And actually, we think that's where the world is going. So we think that's the direction of travel, and we'll get there in a step-by-step way. But your view and your input to this is really important, and we'll come back to this in a second. We have an example here of how an AI agent might work for leave management, and this came about as a result of a discussion we were having with a client 2 weeks ago on site. They're in the room, you know who you are. And the use case that we're solving here is kind of a cutesy use case to give you an example of how we might solve problems much more elegantly. So we have an employee, Dr. Emma Brown from Back to the Future, who wants to organise leave with his pal, Clara Clayton, who works in a different department. And this might be a use case that you have across your organisation where your team members want to organise leave together. Now, you can do this in Rotageek. It's just a bit clunky. And it requires a level of human communication, which is clearly very good, but there's a way for us to optimize this. And so in this use case, what we're going to do is, you might not be able to read that, but Emma Brown says, I want to book a week's leave in March 2026 with Clara, who works in Department Q. What are our options? And the system can now work through and pull out leave availability for Emmett and for Clara and say, actually, the only option you've got to take a week of leave starting on a Monday is the 30th of March. Is that going to work? Do you want me to hold this in your diary and confirm with Clara? And then once she does, we'll send that off for approval as a block leave. And so Emma says, yes, please provisionally book that for me and confirm with Clara. And so we're able to use large language models to really navigate what would be complex workflows in the system, but in a way that kind of delivers value and joy for your client. There will be really specific examples that you have, and the reason for sharing this with you is that example of the way that the tech world is moving and how we want to apply this to the problems that you and your teams are facing. So I'd really love you to think about the admin-heavy processes that you have that are either causing a significant pain, a significant admin load, or might be something like this. It will just delight your teams. Because they're the things that we want to focus on as we create these agents to solve specific problems. So have a think about those. And if you've got some in mind, please come speak to Jason and I today. We are moving ridiculously fast at Rotageek. And we'd love to speak to you about those, but we'll also pick those up in the sessions that we have when we reach out to you. But your AI agents are coming, but our approach is to be really specific and focused on the problem. And your input into this really helps shape not only our strategy, but the product that we develop that will help mold workforce management in the UK. So that's a flavour of the things that we're working on and the things that are going on behind the scenes. Hugely exciting, and really as a result of the acquisition by Elmo and the investment behind that, is allowing us to really accelerate the position that we have in the UK, bring to market functionality that Elmo has, but also invest really heavily in new technology to solve more problems for you in the future. So thank you. Is that a hand? No, just a scratch. That's a question involved. Amazing. So with that in mind, thank you very much for your attention. Please do grab Jason and I at the lunch. And now I'm going to hand over to Philip to close up.
Thank you. I love Chris's references to Back to the Future 3. He does it quite often, and this makes me smile. Old school films, I love them. So look, thank you so much for your attention today, for coming here, engaging. I'm seeing a lot of faces really paying a lot of attention. I know there's quite a bit of information that's been shared today. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for coming. It is all about you, okay? It's all about the customers that we work with. And I hope you're seeing with what Chris and Jace have taken you through, we love what Rotageek does, and I think you love what Rotageek does as well. And those who are about to work with them, I hope, will love what Rotageek does. We just want to improve that. We want to just make it better. We want to add to it so you get more out of it. It becomes more powerful for you and it becomes more sticky going forward. And that's absolutely our mission. So I just want to reinforce that. There's a lot of excitement about working closely with Rotageek and just the value it can bring to customers like yourself. So thank you so much for engaging. I will also say thank you to Indra, to Andy, and to Thomas for the panel, and of course to Dave for hosting. Let's give one more round of applause. That's brilliant. Andy, I thought Andy summed it up beautifully. It's like the end of the day, it's trying to get the right people in the right place at the right time, right? Simple, and it turns out it's not quite as simple as we'd like it to be. But at the end of the day, it's all about the human. It's all about the human in the system and optimizing them and giving them, because if you give them the best experience in terms of your employee, it gives your customer the best experience going forward, and then that's always good for business as well. So yeah, massively passionate about that. So this wraps up today's session. We will have lunch, which is over here, I believe. So please, after this, help yourself. Highly recommend mixing up in the tables. I've talked to quite a number of people in here already. There's so much different experience in this room, and just with stories and what they've done, not only with Rotageek, but just in general in the space that you work in. So please, if you can, sort of try and mix it up a little bit on the tables and try and meet new people, because I think it'd be really invigorating for you. And then once you've had lunch, and if you feel brave enough, you can go out to the Screaming People and you can try as many of the roller coasters or other rides as you want. The park is open till 5 p.m. So your pass will keep you here and screaming until that time, if that's what you want to do. There is a cloakroom at the back, which I believe is, there's a cloakroom at the back, and you can store all your baggage. Please don't leave your stuff here, because I think this all gets tidied away, right? So just pop it there, but that will be open and available to you till 5 p.m. And that wraps up today's session. So please just give yourselves a round of applause again, but thank you so much for your time. Yes.